This video was brought to you by CuriosityStream. It's safe to say that the UK economy isn't in the best place right now. Inflation is soaring, the pound has crashed to a 30-year low against the dollar, and the Bank of England has had to start buying up government bonds to stop pension funds collapsing. As you'd expect, the government has subsequently become the subject of some pretty harsh criticism. Larry Summers, former US Treasury Secretary, called Truss's fiscal policies utterly irresponsible. Ray Dalio, the billionaire founder of hedge fund Bridgewater, said the UK was operating like the government of an emerging country. And even the IMF, who spends most of their time dealing with developing market economies like Pakistan and Sri Lanka, warned that Truss's policies would stoke up inflation and increase inequality. However, while it's clearly been a tough week, it looks like things might be getting even worse, and a housing crash is now on the cards. So in this video, we'll take a look at how the housing market is currently faring, and worryingly, why it might be about to crash. So let's get straight into it. Why is a housing market crash on the cards? Well, the short-term answer is interest rates, which are going up. But the long answer, well, it's complicated. With inflation continuing to surge in the UK, the Bank of England has been forced to put up interest rates to try and get inflation under control. The thinking here is that by making it more attractive to save and less attractive to spend, the economy slows down, reducing demand and therefore inflation. However, higher inflation rates not only make it more expensive to take out new debts, thereby slowing down the economy, they also make it more expensive to service old ones, like, yep, you guessed it, mortgages. In the UK, most mortgages in recent years come with two periods, the initial fix and then the rest of the mortgage term. When you take out a mortgage, the interest rate you pay on the loan amount is typically fixed for the first few years. During that time, the interest on your mortgage won't change regardless of what the market is doing. After that so-called initial fix is up, however, the mortgage reverts to a variable rate, which mirrors changes in interest rates. So if the Bank of England hikes interest rates, as has happened recently, then your mortgage payments go up. So interest rate hikes affect existing mortgages, but they also make it harder to get new mortgages. That's because when the initial rates are high, that initial fix has a high rate anyway, and many mortgage providers don't even want to offer an initial fix when interest rates are so crazy. Nationwide was the first big lender to increase its fixed rate deals, with a 2-year fix rising from 2.54% just 3 months ago to 5.59% now, while other banks such as HSBC, Halifax and Santander have all suspended new mortgages entirely. This means two things. First, more people selling their old houses, because they can't afford the increase in mortgage payments. And second, less people buying new houses, because they can't afford to take out a new mortgage. With supply rising and demand falling, plus the relevant fact that about 3/4 of homes in the UK are purchased using a mortgage, this means that prices should fall. Now, falling house prices are in some sense a good thing. House prices in the UK are clearly way too high, and there's good evidence to suggest that the exorbitant cost of housing puts a drag on the wider UK economy. Historically, the ratio between the median house price and the median income has sat at around 4 or 5, which means that the median house used to cost about 4 or 5 times the median annual salary. As of 2020, however, the median house in England and Wales costs £243,000, and the median income is just £31,580, meaning that the median house now costs nearly 8 times the median income. These high prices exacerbate inequality, reduce the stock of council housing, and suck up capital that could otherwise go to productive investments. Clearly, a fall in prices is both long overdue and in some sense a good thing. However, if the fall is too sharp, then it could be bad news for banks. This is essentially because if the value of your house falls below that of your mortgage, otherwise known as being in negative equity, then if you default on your mortgage, the bank has to take a loss. Say, for example, you buy a £100,000 house with a 10% deposit, so you owe the bank £90,000. If there's suddenly a 20% drop in house prices, so your house now costs only £80,000, and you default on your mortgage, the bank would take the house as collateral. Except now, the house isn't worth as much, so the bank has to take a £10,000 loss, because it lent you £90,000 but only got £80,000 back. If this happens enough times, then the bank runs into trouble, because mortgages make up a large percentage of their business. After the 2008 financial crisis, when the issue of negative equity and subprime mortgages came to the fore, the Bank of England brought in so-called stress tests to ensure that both banks and borrowers could cope with this sort of crisis, requiring banks to check that anyone applying for a mortgage could essentially afford a 3% hike in interest rates. Unfortunately for, well, anyone interested in the UK's economic stability, in August the Bank of England decided to scrap that affordability stress test, presumably because they thought it was too restrictive. Add in the fact that until recently, most banks were offering 5% loan-to-value mortgages, and, well, the housing market looks precariously unprepared for a sharp fall in house prices. Now, to be clear, a full-on financial crisis still looks very unlikely. A weak pound might encourage foreign investors to buy, which would buoy demand, and the recent cut in stamp duty should also help. Nonetheless, Truss seems to have a habit of making things worse, and this is all a reminder that successive governments' inability to deal with the UK's housing bubble has left the UK needlessly vulnerable to a housing-related crisis. Ultimately, what happens in the coming weeks and months is, for now, anyone's guess, and a depressing guess at that. So, if you need a little cheering up, we also have a bunch more fun content too. Like our team attempting the British citizenship test, our blooper reel.
On Wednesday, Peru's Prime Minister... Oh, God. I'm just going to ask next door, I'll be back. Turns out there's a bunch of useless next door.
Our office tour, and our interview with TV expert Scott Bryan about why Piers Morgan and Talk TV are failing. All of those videos are exclusive to the streaming service we made with our creator friends, Nebula. Now, don't worry, I know times are tough, and that's why it's good that Nebula is about $1 a month if you sign up to the Nebula CuriosityStream bundle. Here's how it works. We reached out to the good old chaps at CuriosityStream and said, hey, you have a superb streaming service full of some of the most high-quality documentaries available online. You want to team up? They emailed back saying, you mean highest quality? But sure. Now, I don't always appreciate pedantry, but they're right, and they put forward an offer we couldn't refuse. They said that anyone who signed up to their streaming service using this link, it's in the description, don't worry, would also get access to Nebula totally free. Now, I like free things, so we said yes. So if you click the link below, you'll pay less than $15 a year for CuriosityStream and Nebula. That's just over $1 a month. So get yourself exclusive TLDR videos, which will never come to YouTube, all our videos ad-free, and some videos earlier than they come out to YouTube. Sign up now. For legal reasons, this exchange is entirely fictional, and I honestly don't know how the deal was done. I'm not a legal kind of guy, so I wasn't in the room when it happened. Also, just because I made this up doesn't mean the videos aren't true. Everything else I say is 100% accurate, okay? Regardless, you should sign up.